Well, that said, we're through our regular news, and it's now time for guys. I honestly consider not doing this special. Typically, I go crazy, but it's now time for the BFL weekly update. There you go, Kyle.
I like it.
Yeah, well, I usually just do that, with Joe there. I actually did it on the floor of iCast last week, which was super weird. Not sure I...
Got some heads turning at you?
Well, maybe. I'm not sure I like it. Let me put it that way. But anyhow, we've only got 3 BFL events this week, or this last weekend, which is very nice for me, actually, because it gives me a little more time to talk to these guys, to put together releases. It's not a case of having to crank out 5 or 6 in
it's a little easier on you.
It's not having to do one an hour, basically. I can do one every 2 hours, and it works out. So anyhow, first one I got here, Tim Partin won the Buckeye event on the Ohio River. He caught 8 pounds, 5 ounces.
Big stringer.
Oh yeah, absolutely giant. Picked up his first win. I'm going to let him talk a little bit about his day right now.
It started really in the practice day on Friday. I found some fish pretty early and made a commitment to them, and pretty much spent the entire day there on Saturday in the tournament, and got back inside a creek, back in the back areas, and worked soft plastics around basically around wood and some rock areas, and caught 6 keepers throughout the day. It was only 6 bites I had, and that was pretty much the short version of it. Yeah, it was Texas rigged quarter ounce, and I used 2 different creature type baits that they were uniquely different, but both of them would fall into the creature bait category. The rock had 3 to 6 feet on it. The wood, the brush piles were up in anywhere from 1 foot to 2 foot of water. I was going to say there's really kind of 2 different patterns within one area going on there.
This is your first BFL win that I can tell. How did it feel?
It's great. I've pursued this for a long time, and it's really satisfying to finally to get that trophy for the first win.
So the one thing that Tim didn't really cover is he said it was tougher than usual. He basically did not expect to win. And a lot of these guys don't expect to win. They always seem to be down on themselves. It's like, oh man, I'm really surprised I won. Everybody else is so good. Which everybody else is really good. But he was shocked. I mean, he thought it would take 11 pounds to win. It took 11 pounds to win last year at Maysville, I believe, is where they went out of. Or Rocky Point, one or the other.
One of them.
So I think that was interesting. I think that was kind of cool that he was able to pull out the win. And the other thing to note is that he has been fishing BFL events. He's fished them 11 years over like a 14-year period or something like that. Wow. So he's been fishing these things for a long time. And this was his first win. I mean, he's had some decent finishes in the past, but I was real happy to see him get win number 1 just for himself. I mean, you could tell he was really excited, really happy about it.
Oh, yeah. And does he always fish the Buckeye division?
He fishes a variety of divisions, but he does spend a lot of time on the Ohio River.
I was going to say, in a tournament where, if you catch 9 pounds, you're not really sure if that's a good day or if someone's going to beat you with 11 pounds, it'd be tough. It'd be hard to be consistently good on a fishery like that, I feel like.
Yeah, and that's the amazing thing about the Ohio River is you see guys who are consistently good. Mm-hmm. I mean, who not every time, but who almost every time are in the top 10 or picking up a W.
They got them dialed in.
They really do. I'm glad I don't live there, let's put it that way, because first off, I would get my butt kicked every week by these guys. Second, I mean, gosh, to go out and win 10 pounds is a good day would just be so depressing.
Real depressing.
I couldn't handle it. I mean, growing up on Champlain, I mean, I don't know how these guys deal with it. I don't know how they like bass fishing, but somehow they do. So give it up for the guys who go through that. Next up, the Illini division fished Rend Lake, and Brad Porter picked up his second BFL win on Rend Lake. He caught 12 pounds, 4 ounces. Was the only guy in the field. No, actually, scratch that. He didn't catch a limit. He had 12 pounds, 4 ounces on 4 fish. And I'm going to let him talk a little bit now about his win.
I was fishing deeper laydowns is what I was fishing.
All right. Deeper. When you say deeper laydowns, how deep were they? Were they on like steep banks and 10 feet of water, or were they just a little bit deeper than some of the other shallow stuff? What was the deal?
Well, we're talking about Rend Lake here. Here, your average lake is 3.5 foot. I was catching my fish out 8 to 10 foot of water. I was throwing a scrounger with the ribbed shad, I guess is what you'd call it, and a jig. That's what I caught all my fish on. I started shallow, and it didn't work out. I went to rocks, and they were overpressured, and I knew I had to do something off the beaten path, and I just went and found some wood to hit that was in deeper water that everybody else was avoiding, and that's basically how I won before.
So the kind of interesting thing to me was that Brad basically said that he was doing maybe not the same thing, but something very similar to when he won the first time on Rend Lake. First time he won, he caught 18 pounds, blew the field away. I mean, it wasn't even close. He was like 4 pounds ahead of the next guy. He demolished them. This time he didn't demolish them. He still had a healthy lead. I mean, he didn't just squeak out with the win, and he lost a 3.5 pounder at the boat with about 5 minutes to go.
Rough.
So he would have won. He was another guy he didn't think he was going to win. He would have won. He would have thought he was going to win if he'd landed that 3.5, but he thought losing the 3.5 would have had it slip away from him. But I thought that was kind of interesting that 2 years apart he can go out, fish a tough summertime event on Rend, and sort of the way he said he was putting it together as the day went on. He was scrambling around and he made it work out. All right. Finally, the Piedmont division fished Falls Lake, and I've been looking forward to this one for a while because Falls Lake has giants. There are some big fish in Falls. It is incredible in the springtime. There's a heck of a squarebill bite there in maybe April, say. Real fun times. I haven't fished it. I'm kicking myself because I didn't fish it. But man, I've seen some pictures. Anyhow, Falls Lake, Michael Corbishley caught 19 pounds, 6 ounces, big bag of the weekend. He didn't have really an incredibly stiff competition, but nonetheless, great bag. Picked up his first win in his first event as a boater. Fishes a co-angler a few times, steps in as a boater, boom, goes ahead and gets the win. And I'm going to let him talk about that right now.
My pattern for the day in the tournament was not the same as what it was in practice. In the tournament, or I guess in practice, I had gone about, I was targeting rock piles and with brush around it. Actually, I guess it kind of was the same pattern, but different baits. It was I was targeting rock piles with brush and looking for, I had to have a ton of bait fish. And I was usually fishing pretty fast to get those bites, like crankbaits and spoons and stuff like that in practice, but they wouldn't touch it in the tournament. So in the tournament, when that came around, I hit 10 to 15 spots, and in those 10 to 15 spots, in the week and a half, in the last week and a half of going out like 5 times, I had caught fish over 3 pounds at all of those spots, in 10 to 15 spots. And now in the tournament, only 2 of them we caught fish. So it was a really tough day. It was very slow, and at 11 o'clock, I had only had 3 small fish in the boat for about 6 pounds. And so I decided, I'm going to run up towards the river more and see if I can't put some big fish in the boat, because that was my plan. I was planning on going down lake to fill out a limit where I thought I could fill a 12 to 15 pound limit and then upgrade from there. However, I wasn't able to do that, so I just went up there early anyways. And as soon as that sun came out, the areas I was fishing had a ton of bait fish, and that sun came out and they just started chewing. I was casting out a Hog Set Lures. It's a new company. It's HAWGSET Lures, Molly Whopper, and casting it out and just dragging it back very, very slowly to where I would hit a stump. And every time you hit a stump, just pop it on over and let it sit. And when it did, they would grab it, and it was a very, very light bite. And you'd just feel kind of just a very, like a little tick and spongy feeling that I wouldn't have felt without JB Custom rods. And then I would set the hook, and, I had a good co-angler to net for me, and, I ended up putting in several fish, and my co-angler did, and then my co-angler caught a 5-pounder, and the next cast I caught that 7-pounder. And so I ended up culling 6 times, and we kept the school fired up and kept them, kept catching fish out of them, and then hit one more spot along the river channel once they died off, and I was able to make a last-minute cull, culled out about a 2-pounder to put in one about 3, so that was good, and that was really it. And I did catch some on a Spro Little John crankbait, but other than that, it was on the Hog Set Lures Molly Whopper.
The one other thing to mention about Michael is that he's actually currently a college student. He fishes for the East Carolina University bass fishing team. And, I saw that when I looked at his profile. I was like, wait a minute. This guy is younger than me. And he's already won a BFL. So I think that's super cool.
More power to him. I like it.
Thanks for the insight, Kyle.
Yeah, man.
All right. And with that, we're pretty much done. And that has been the BFL Weekly Update. For more like this, check out the rest of the FLW podcast at flwoutdoors.com or on iTunes.